And we're live. Welcome to the Hidden Treasures podcast.
Welcome indeed.
My name is Captain Mavis for the sense and purpose of this transmission, and I'm here with the Fool of Good Ideas, also known as.
Also known as Captain Obvious. Am I the fool of good ideas? Yes. So many titles. Well, it's Captain Obvious today.
Captain
I'm,
Obvious.
I'm happy
Oh.
to.
And we're here today with a transmission from the underworld.
Yes, exactly. That's it. We're here with transmissions from the underworld. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And about all the ways, yeah. One of the things that is coming up is the ways in which the patriarchy undermines also men and eats them up and chews them up and spits them out and leaves them shipwrecked. Patriarchy is like the Kraken, to make it more clear. It's
The Kraken that has taken you into an underworld deep dive.
an ancient devouring beast that does not want to be reasoned with and makes our journey more perilous than it needs to be.
Tell me, Captain Obvious, what perils are you encountering in this underworld journey you find yourself in these days?
I mean, so many people who know the show will know that I'm still going through just the ravages of heartbreak. And grief comes in waves.
Mm.
Grief comes in waves. And in my case, this event brought me face to face with my darkest sides. And in a way, it brought me closer to my soul, insofar as it brought me closer to wholeness. Because I had no choice when I was confronted with my anger. This genie was finally out of the bottle. And I could not put it back. And I did not want to put it back. It had cost me too much to be face to face with it. So, yeah, the shadow is everything that we don't own about ourselves. I was listening today to this Jungian life, and there it really came up as well about the shadow isn't just what we deem unwanted, but it's what we like in societally judge. It's literally what you don't integrate of yourself.
Mm.
And I'm
Can be also a golden shadow, right?
hmm?
It's
Sorry?
not just the bad. It's not just the bad and the dark traits that we disown. It's also the golden shadow.
Yeah, there's brilliant things that we just didn't feel safe to embody growing up for whatever reason. Can be really nice things about yourself that you keep buried because it was too triggering for the people around you, or because it was not appreciated and you needed appreciation for some other reasons. Like there's many angles and many steps in which these things end up um, configuring our personality.
All the ways our self-expression is not invited.
Yeah,
It's not received.
yeah. So I
It's
got really hurt, and it was just and I'm just grieving it and learning. And I had a bad day today,
mm,
but it was a bad day because I went into things that I knew would be uncomfortable. It was an episode of this podcast about betrayal, and then another episode about regret, and I
mm,
really went into it. I didn't. give myself much space to. And I was just doing the dishes and like, I don't know, getting into it, really getting into it, cleaning out my pens, like going through things, washing my hair and untangling it like I had dreadlocks in it. When I have dreadlocks, I know I'm like, you know, then I know I'm really stuck, really stuck. So I was really stuck.
So I know about the betrayal part of your journey and of heartbreak. What is it about regret that came up for you today? I'm curious.
I don't even think that I was really very much in regret today, but I was imagining. I could feel little bits like here and there, like messages I sent. I learned to recognize what instant regret feels like that I wasn't even aware of. Like there was just some kind of like excitement, but like a kind of toxic excitement. Um, like an excitement that's like a whoop, the like an excitement that somehow tastes like guilt. It's like you know the feeling when you get caught and you just get like adrenaline and but gross adrenaline. I don't know.
Out of like anticipation of punishment?
Yeah, something like that, or just maybe there's no punishment. I immediately think of slot machines. This that you maybe you get this kind of feeling there. Something like, oh, I shouldn't be throwing this money away, like, and you don't get payout. There's no payout. It's just you're just burning your money, and that you just start to feel that sinking feeling of regret and about to have punishment, but no punishment comes. Instead, the machine is still rewarding you somehow. So you kind of just get used to that feeling, and that just becomes the space. It's just like this guilty pleasure. It's like it's just in a way a guilty pleasure, yes. But I regret.
Hmm.
I regret indulging in my guilty pleasures.
So what are the guilty pleasures you've been indulging in?
Sending hateful or otherwise just unproductive text to my ex. Um, yeah, that's definitely. I noticed it as that this is a guilty pleasure that I was indulging in, and then feel regret about doing it. Because the point of the underworld journey is to learn compassion. Is to learn compassion, even with the darkest parts, not just of yourself, but also of other people. And that I feel like by making somebody else feel worse, because that's what I'm doing, I'm I'm contributing to their suffering. Whether or not I, on an ego level, think they deserve it or whatever, I'm just contributing to somebody else's suffering, and is that's a regrettable thing to be doing. That's a regrettable thing to be doing.
By doing that, how are you contributing to the maintenance of your own suffering?
Oh, I worsen my own suffering. I worsen my own suffering in that moment for sure. It does not help. I felt today. It was. I felt today like when you know you have to throw up but you don't, and then you're just walking around with that sick feeling. That was my day. Yeah, really grim. And I picture my father. I know his face, like oh, this cynical humor, so much grief behind that,
Hmm.
and it's such a But at the same time, it's so tempting to be in that, to be there, and to run away, and to keep finding mental exit ramps from the highway to hell that is going into my feelings.
Hmm.
And I
So
just
there's
want to get off it and go do the bumper carts.
so there's trying to deal out pain to your ex is a strategy for you to not sit with your own feelings.
Not even pain. Like, this is too simple, but it was at some points in the journey. Yeah. At the moment, no, but at some points in the journey, yes, it was. I mean, not even really dealing out. Just I'm not even dealing out pain. I just know where it hurts. So I'm just like bringing attention to
Yeah, Scorpio style.
it.
Like, never cross a Scorpio, man. Never cross a Scorpio. You're gonna get sting.
Or if you do it, block them.
Didn't she do that already?
Not thoroughly enough.
Oh, she unblocked you again?
No, I have multiple accounts. I would be a terrible stalker. If I was somebody's stalker, they would be fucking awful. Also, this I can also notice, like, I'm touching the contours of these things. I'm not getting lost in it. Even indeed suicidal ideation, I was touching the contours of it. I wasn't like getting lost in the sauce. I just noticed myself having a thought, and it's like, uh, I saw myself in the mirror with that, and I thought I would never see that again, but I did.
Never see what again?
See myself thinking, like, miming out some kind of
Exit strategy.
yeah, yeah. It was no, I was really devastated. Not necessarily today. I was devastated in this process,
Mm.
and when you like lift up one of the floor tiles in the backyard to like see all the fucking maggots eat your buried cats or whatever, you know, I had to look. I had to look, and I think that's something to do. I think there's some value in it.
Looking at the rotting carcass inside of you.
Yeah, because you got to feel it. The more you actually feel it and stay with it, and don't. And I'm having compassion also, again, with my dad, having compassion with this in not even inability, just like distance from your feelings, and that like when I cry, I get a stuffed nose. And when I have a stuffed nose and I can't breathe, I need to breathe in order to process my feelings. And if my nose is stuffed, I get claustrophobic. So there's like a sense of when I'm crying and my nose gets blocked, I get claustrophobic as well. It gets like so there it that's why it's such a good metaphor to have say how much that you have literally emotional space to
Mm,
feel, to invite your feelings in. Like, look, I have, and my dad has this much space,
mm,
headroom for breathing. When
mm.
he cries, it's like I've seen him cry sometimes. I've seen him cry on occasion, and I can tell that it takes courage for him to let himself, and he finds it very difficult. And the feeling underneath are immense. And I have a lot more freedom to let myself feel and let myself emote. And because I don't have many examples of that, or that the examples that I've had are, in a way, I judge them for being like dramatic. I judge myself for being dramatic, but I feel like I'm judging myself less for being dramatic than he does, or just like the pathos. And at the same time, I am suspicious of yielding to my emotions because I don't want to be overindulging in them and invite them in as spirits to just like play me. That's not. I think it's good to keep in mind that possibility.
Um, I want to share a bit
Hmm.
that shifted something for me there, because I also had a big tendency, especially with the waves of grief, to go like full on in, like right into the end, going wild, going deep, and this going after this longing of feeling the bottom of it. And I was in an ayahuasca ceremony, the first and only ayahuasca ceremony I've participated on so far, um, where I also had this experience of feeling the pain and started emoting and started feeling to the grief. And I went into the dark, like went away from the fire, went away from the crew because I didn't feel welcome there. And then went fully into it, like, sobbing and wailing and shouting and crying and full on.
Hmm.
At some point, the shaman comes to me, like, and says, like, the medicine sent me to give you a message. Right? Okay. Sobbing, like, full mess. And he's like, there's two ways of feeling the grief and feeling the pain. One of them is when we are in full presence with the emotion and allow the tears to flow and be with them in presence. And that is a way that we cleanse and transmute the pain of our soul. And the other one is this wailing, this surrendering into the full expression of pain. And when we do that, he says, we open the portals of grief and we invite all the spirits and all the unfelt grief that's in the field around to be dumped through us. And I think you're doing the latter. And I was like, it's like, take your time, but come back to the fire and just like sit with the fire and sit with the pain and sit with the grief and allow it through. And I did still cry the whole night, but it was like this calm way of crying, of just like allowing the tears to flow and just like sit with it, be present with it. And I think there's some very powerful truth to that, because when we're like wailing and that what you shared about not fully surrendering to that emotion and let the emotion take you for a ride, right?
Yeah, yeah, like
And this
with the snake.
And it is this presence that it requires, presence and spaciousness in a way as well, of course. And often I think we don't allow emotions through because we fear that we're going to get overwhelmed by the wave and it's going to take us for a ride. We might end up there where you are, that you can't breathe and you feel claustrophobic and you feel like drowning in the grief and drowning in the pain.
No, I mean that's yeah, yeah, yeah. and it's not. I don't even know if that's really healing. It's more healing than not doing it. But when we, yeah, and I picture also again my dad rolling that boulder forward, and I think he got it. He got it over somehow. He did get it over. He still has his feelings, but I feel like the real burden of it finally dropped away. But I won't have to turn 70 for that to happen. That's the thing. Like and there's stuff that my grandpa was doing that my dad, you know, he expressed to me first the idea when I was like, I don't know, when I was a teenager or something, that his dad had to turn 70 something or 80 something to learn something that he himself learned around 40, 45. So that, and in a way, this activated for me the idea that, oh yeah, and I learned stuff, that he learns when he's 50. I learned it at 20 or 25, and it's like, so maybe at some point, everything that we, everything that we fix, that we learn, our kids don't have to like still do. But even if our kids still do, if you at least manage to do it in your lifetime, you can like, I felt like it's halved, like the time is at least halved.
Mm.
And yeah,
Yeah.
compassion.
Somehow shift the fields, yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm also really amazed at a lot of people from the younger generations that I encounter, 20 somethings that have already learned the lessons that took me a lot of pain and sweat and blood to learn in my 30s. And they already have them. It's like, oh my God, this is so amazing.
yeah. I think we can credit Tumblr for to some extent.
Credit whom?
Tumblr.
Tumblr.
Yeah,
Um, I'm not familiar with Tumblr, so.
it's a kind of a niche social medium. In a way, Substack feels like Tumblr did.
Mm.
In a way that, yeah, it's therapy.
Hello, Orlando Lovekill just joined us. Lovekill, what a name. Vinke Vinke. Drop
Yeah,
us a message. Where are you tuning in from? And, feel free to comment or ask us questions. We're
I'll explain what you mean by love kill. Oh, maybe you don't have to explain. I think I know. Um, oh yeah, that happened. One of the things that they brought up in this podcast was Anthony Bourdain, that he killed himself.
Mm.
And yeah, sure, maybe he was already depressed, but the thing that set him over the edge was like some paparazzi had like published pictures of his girlfriend with some other man in the tabloids, and 3 days later, Bourdain had killed himself. Yeah, and this, I realized, yeah, that's, I felt kind of seen by that. Yeah, it helped me feel less crazy. Yeah,
Less crazy. This loops back to conversation we were having in the last episode about um, the fear of being labeled crazy and what it means when you get slapped on that label and excluded from discourse, from reasonable discourse.
yeah, like I was somehow being unreasonable for having my feelings,
Mm,
feeling this way, for being emotional, for feeling betrayed, feeling unfairly treated.
mm,
And because of course the stupid thing was to go to her for somehow like acknowledgement of my emotions, which she couldn't even acknowledge her own emotions, and acknowledging mine would require that. So yeah, empathy. To find empathy in the darkness. Wow, I'm gonna make the most of this. Like that's the thing. I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna somehow use this to in moments where empathy, real empathy with people going through difficulty,
Mm.
uh, maybe even causing difficulty, is required. That I'll be able to do it.
Just to loop Orlando over here in, we're discussing underworld journeys.
Uh huh. Yes.
We're discussing underworld journeys, and specifically the one here Captain Obvious has been through after a difficult heartbreak experience that confronted him with anger and darker parts of himself that
Yeah. I don't know if it's. I mean, it's probably universal, or at least a cliche experience. But that doesn't mean that the feelings aren't intense. Um, and having going through a cliche experience then feels pathetic. But for some reason, that brings up the thought of the climate crisis and the emotional space that it requires to see that reality and to see how to see where we are.
spaciousness. Yes,
Um,
that is the thing. I think the key to
yeah,
that spaciousness, to feel the feels, spaciousness to take a look at the things that are lurking in the depths and in the dark,
yeah.
and at the same time doing so creates more spaciousness.
And I'm
Uh,
reading here the comment from Orlando, fighting cancer for the second time, just dropping in to walk other paths, sightseeing. Yeah, yeah, you're not alone. I mean, we go through other stuff, but some of it really digs deep and has you digging deep and has you finding, finding, or at least, or praying for strength that you hope to find. And then when you find it, it's nice. When you find it, it's nice. And yeah, learning compassion where I really didn't think I would manage it. When you think that you're at your limit or past your limit, and in a way you would love to just drop responsibility and indeed give in to the feelings and just let them take you for there. You find yourself more capable. You find yourself stronger than you thought you were, and that's a gift, even if it's coming from a painful experience, even if none of it is going the way that we would want or would choose for it to go. When you surprise yourself with your strength and your presence and your light, even in the darkness, that's still a gift. And it's bittersweet, and it doesn't even always feel worth it.
um,
But but it's there. But it's really there. And
but
I
in hindsight, it is. In
yeah,
hindsight,
I
it is.
choose gratitude. I choose gratitude about it. Yeah, the human experience is all inclusive.
It's what all inclusive,
Yeah, yeah.
raw. Mm. So this learning compassion for the darker parts in us, for the parts that are full of rage, that are full of hate, that are full of despair. Um, mm,
Anger.
hurting at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. And people are hurting in massive, people are hurting so bad. It's really, it feels like when you have one of those wounds that like where you feel your heartbeat somewhere where you normally don't feel your heartbeat because it's like raw and swollen and cut, and it's just like that. It's like that. It's like that. It's like a sweltering bruise.
But at some point in that journey, when you're being confronted with your deepest wounds, you start going into this healing journey of looking at the wounds and poking at them to see what they will reveal. You need to ask yourself, when are you starting to do wound porn?
Yeah, maybe because the healing journey can be less about the pain and more about your soul. The thing healing is your ability to have compassion. And if I'm stirring up my shit just to feel the pain, then I'm yeah, when I'm self-harming with it. uh, mm, and even for that, I can have compassion because all the in a sense, because of all the things I feel like I miss, like the emptiness. In a way, the emptiness, I want to fill it up again with something that feels like it's related to something I long for, but I can't. There's no point. And you don't even know if I'm longing for it, if I'm just getting used to feeling this way.
Mm. It becomes an addiction sometimes as well, the feeling of the pain.
Because it's giving me an excuse to be self centered. It's giving me an excuse not to care about the rest of the world,
Mm.
not to see what I can contribute, not to focus on work. It gives me an excuse to indulge in just watching my series and eating ice cream.
There's, I think it's just also a strategy, right? Because seeing or being confronted with the pain
Hmm.
of the world, where the pain of a dying world, of the whole Weltschmerz and climate catastrophe rolling over us,
I don't know if
also
it's
creates an
like
overwhelm.
we're in fight, and it's a fight that's not looking good. But it's too early to say that it's dying because we haven't lost the fight yet. But
Mm.
it's not looking good. It's not looking good. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't. I mean, it doesn't even mean that that's the point. Like that's not even the point. The point is, where's my heart? Can I bring my heart into it? Can I be there with grace and love and presence and patience? Can I find compassion? Can I find compassion with the whole situation? And in the moments where I can't, can I find the courage to ask for help? And I also can't sometimes. And then I get into what feels like not productive or destructive coping mechanisms that aren't helping me.
Mm.
But luckily, they're not so bad. The ones I choose are not so bad, and they quickly stop working too. And then I find myself back in the question of, okay, can I ask for help, or okay, can I have compassion and patience? And somehow the second time around, usually it's yes. and I'm grateful for that because it surprises me. I really thought I would just spiral, but I don't anymore, and that's reassuring. That gives me that gives me something. That gives me hope and courage because I don't know. Maybe you can give a good example. Maybe it makes the world a bit better if I carry my feelings with dignity and like see it as a duty to be graceful in my suffering and to be transparent and let it flow, but don't get washed away by it.
Stay present.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And sometimes to do so, we need just someone else to witness us,
yeah,
someone else to be present for us,
yeah,
to allow ourselves to take that breath that will create the spaciousness to move through the wave.
yeah. And I thank you. You're a great help in this. Mm,
We get knocked out of balance, it happens, and we use many tools to recenter. And being tools, we build. And being tools, we
yeah,
build. I don't understand that last part. We're
yeah.
tools. We're fooled.
But we are tools,
We
and,
are tools.
and because we're tools, we build. Yeah, yeah. I see
Mm.
that public life, private life. This is nice. Yeah, the way we do our private life. I get it. I get it. The way we our private life echoes and mirrors, and the grace we manage to uh, have or receive from others, so that we can still experience it, even if we didn't bring it to the party. This ripples out into the world. We can have a
Mm.
more graceful world, or we can have a yeah. And there's the balance, and there's the structure, and yeah, tools we use them to build ourselves back up.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And this is what I found in the eight circuit brain model, like a very useful set of tools
Hmm.
for building ourselves back up.
Yeah, yeah.
And also for understanding compassion for myself and for the shadow aspects of myself and all the ways my system develops strategies for survival. And if that's like one message that's
Hmm.
stuck for me for using this model that I repeat and I repeat and I repeat and I repeat after a lecture, this is about, first of all, finding that compassion for all the ways that our nervous system and our brains just found strategies to survive physically, emotionally, conceptually, socially. Use the tools and not the weapons. Yeah.
Hmm.
Every tool can be wielded as a weapon as well, for sure. I mean,
We also find weapons. Yeah.
that's also true for the eight circuit brain model. If you understand how it works, it's very easy also to brainwash other people.
Well, one thing I discovered in the dark is that the same way that our sense of humor uses the same structures as our capacity for cruelty.
Hmm. Elaborate.
In order to be, in order to tickle somebody's funny bone, you have to be able to relate to them. You have to be able to relate to them, yeah, and have a little understanding for them, and understand what moves them, and turn it,
The script.
and you can also, if you know somebody and understand what moves them, and you can touch something that you can twist, can also really, really inflict suffering with. So that's why, yeah. I found today my sense of humor and my sense of my capacity for cruelty intermingle. Thankfully, on paper, and I did not do something with it. But yeah, I found my capacity for this. And when you find your capacity for when you find the dark places you can go to and that are also present in your mind, that's the compassion part. There is something to. I'd rather be whole than good. I see that now. This is one thing I've been learning. I've been learning this in the whole process. I would rather be whole than good because I can't be good if I'm not whole. Because if I actually get under pressure, if my goodness is tested, it turns out to be hollow because it's not a choice, it's a coping mechanism. Because I don't know myself well enough to know, like, I can't promise to be good if I don't know what it would look like to be tested on that. And you can replace good with graceful here or constructive. Like,
And it
yeah.
has a tendency to come out like when we see ourselves as this good saint, caring,
Yeah, we want to see.
light, love and light people. It does have a tendency that when we're tested and when we're challenged, that the parts of us that know how to survive when shit hits the fan, they come out. They come out and they take over.
Yeah.
And owning them and finding compassion for them and accepting that they are part of us is what ultimately also makes us more sovereign, more powerful, and more able to not lose our shit in sight of being confronted with the darkness of others in the
Hmm.
world.
Yeah, and that's good. Yeah, the times that we have ahead of us is going to require a lot of compassion and understanding. So I'm happy to learn it now and not in the heat of the moment. It's a bit of a last minute rush job, but that's why it hurts extra. But I understand the great. All good, all good. Thank you for dropping
Thanks
in.
for
Take care.
tuning in. Welcome.
Welcome. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, that's it.
um, for me, that journey was a couple of years ago. Uh, this journey of owning the more darker parts of me. Uh, I also fancied myself, yeah, limitless, friendly, compassionate, serving of others, people pleasing, loved myself in this role of, oh, I'm the strong one, I'm the pillar for everyone, overgiving to the extent of
Mm,
sitting it all away. And when I was betrayed in that, shit hit the fan. There was a side of me that came out, like when I was really down and I have just given my last fuck and I was out of any resources. The side of me that emerged, I called her the Ice Queen.
yeah.
And she was calculating, strategic, but like ice cold in her decisions and the way she then handled the situation with absolute no regard for the collateral damage in others.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, okay, I see the situation. Here's the 5-point plan. One step at a time, and just execute, 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 execute.
Yeah.
Not caring at all about the impact it had on the others involved in the situation. And that part of me, I think, like emerged in the moment where I was at compassion fatigue as well. So you can like overdo it with compassion and understanding as well.
Yes. I don't want to overcompensate in that direction. I don't want to, because you end up in. I'm imagining from my experience, community life is going to be a lot of managing relationships and managing tensions between people also. And in my experience, I get called upon in those circumstances regularly, and especially in larger groups, and that makes it. And I feel like this will come in handy to have this compassion, to know and to have an understanding of where the compassion is and where the but still what standards do I want to hold myself to, regardless of, okay, I'm empathizing with my feelings and with the emotions that brings up, but that doesn't mean that I'm making excuses for my choices and behavior. And I think that's important to hold, because the way the ice queen you described, yeah, she's quite familiar to me, more in others than in myself. And it's like I picture her as the reversed Queen of Swords. Um, like, and the Queen of Swords has a cup with her, like when she's got this, and she's like reversed, like she's out of fucks to give, and her
Yeah.
sword is
The
like pointing
cup
down.
is empty. When the cup is empty, it's just like, I'm gonna hit you or smack you over the head with that cup now.
Yeah, maybe even the King of Cups, yeah, but reversed,
Mm.
like out of fucks to give, and
I
just out for her own.
I found myself mirrored. You saw Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I saw myself in both those queens, in the Targaryen queen and in the Lannister queen.
Mm-hmm.
Like this darker part of me, or the darker aspects of me, are represented in both those when they turn dark. Like the Lannister queen, she's a conniving bitch, a power hungry conniving bitch, right? She's
Yeah.
turned dark from the beginning.
Yeah. She starts dark. Yeah. She's
And
the
she started dark, and
Sith Lord.
she's with this like thirst for power, and I know that part of me as well. Like I know, or when I saw that series, I knew that if at some point I would reach the end of my compassion and the end of my bleeding heart, or like the end of my ability to keep my heart open, I could very easily become a very power hungry tyrant with the capacity of scheming and masterminding. Um, and the other part, the Targaryen queen, like all through the series, I saw myself super in her as well, like idealistic, revolutionary, liberating slaves here and there, with a genuine claim to the throne and everything. But when she got betrayed and this betrayal wound got activated, she turned into this like, I'm going to burn it all down, and I have dragons. And that I also really felt like this madness of like, I don't fucking care anymore. You cross me in that way, you
Yeah.
overstretch my sympathy, my compassion, and my empathy,
Yeah. And this,
and then
she
I'm
was
just gonna burn it
unbalanced.
all down.
In a way, she was unbalanced in that she was like a martyr, coming up as a martyr, and she just like found indeed her limit in.
But that's exactly the point, right? With all this, when we construct a self-image of goodness and love and compassion and righteous idealism,
Mm-hmm. We suppress all the things that don't serve that, and they come roaring out when it's time to when the test comes. So I'm
yeah,
in that sense, I feel like it's good to get these tests, to fail them, and then to regain, slowly rebuild. Indeed, like was Orlando said, like you rebuild yourself. You find the tools, you see that they can be used as weapons, but you don't. You use only the tools that you find there to rebuild yourself. And that's just like, and I'm glad that I get to do that at 37 and not at 73. This is,
funny, it was 37 for me too, I think.
yeah.
Yeah. And we rebuild including those parts, and that's what I like about this gremlin management, from possibility management. That also helped me a lot to just see these darker parts as some form of gremlins that, if you manage to feed them on a regular basis and be in contact with them, hi Corey,
Hmm.
and build a relationship to them, they don't monster out. Because it's when you starve them, or then if you starve them and ignore them, at some point they'll break out of their jail the moment you become triggered or unconscious or lose your shit, and then they just create massive havoc in your life and feed on your relationships and feed on your loved ones and just deal out pain and suffering they've been enduring.
Yeah.
So
Now,
gremlin work is about getting into relationship with those parts and acknowledging that they hold some strategies for survival, they hold some power as well, they hold parts of our gifts as well, that we can learn to wield if we integrate them and work with them and acknowledge them, acknowledge their existence in our system.
yeah, and this does remind me of the dream I had. I had this Elon dream where he literally said, like, "Hey, you're not activating me. You haven't activated me, and you need to do that if you want to make art." And maybe, yeah, I gotta feed this. I gotta feed this gremlin inside me too.
But you have a tendency to actually turn your back on them when they show in your dream worlds and say
I
like, no, no, I
literally
don't want
do
to
it.
hear this.
Literally, that's how I. Yes, yeah. I like, no, no. I reject them. I reject them and turn away and walk away from them. Yeah, and refuse their offers of friendship. Um,
They're actually making you offers of friendship.
yes,
And
and
they're
I'm.
making you offers of communication and engagement, and you're like, nah, nah, I don't want to hear this. You're not my vibe.
He did also say that I should bring this to you. So yeah, you're giving me the right thing. Yeah, look, they're actually like your shadow is approaching you now to say like, hey, we're actually friends. Like, come on, come on. Like, oh, why? What's in it for me? Oh, everything. You want to make art, right? You have to activate. Oh, yes. Do I want to make art? Do I really want to make art? Yes, I really want to make art. No, I really want to be that guy who makes art. I don't want to make art. It sounds like work.
You want to create
I just want to, like, yeah, I want to create. I do want to create.
This comes back to what we were talking in the acid trip
Yeah.
of disowning your creative power and going after side quests,
Like, oh, preferably even other people's side quests.
other people's side quests, so you don't have to own your creative power.
Yeah, something like that, indeed.
Mm, so, Corey, if at any point you want to drop us a message, make a comment, feel free to it, ask a questions. We're
Hmm.
riffing tonight a bit about underworld journeys and claiming lost and denied parts of ourselves on the journey to become whole and
Yeah.
claim our power. That's a topic of the transmission tonight.
Hmm.
And coming back to this dream, so we talked a little bit about that in the chat before.
Hmm.
That the first thing when I asked you, so what does your inner Elon look like was like, oh, I need to embrace my megalomaniac, bloodthirsty, um, psycho.
Yeah.
But there's other aspects of this
Yeah.
guy that I think are a bit that you already named in the chat that are a bit more juicy in terms of what we've been exploring, that you find difficult to own. Also me
Mhm.
around this, yeah, our
Yeah.
the inner,
Being a
the
ma-
inner madness.
yeah, there's being a maverick, like doing the thing, just doing the thing. Just do whatever the fuck you want. Just do what you want. Doesn't matter. Without hesitating, without constantly like thinking about, oh, is it the right thing? Is it moral? Is it is it perfect? No, just do the thing. But then again, yeah, move fast and break things.
The thing that you're convinced is a gift, right? Because he is in a way convinced that he's doing good shit, that he's dismantling a system that doesn't work anymore so he can
I
build
don't think he
some better one.
does that.
Hmm?
I think he believes it. I don't think that's that. I don't think he really believes that. Of course not. No, no, no. I give him more credit than that. I don't think he believes this story himself. I think he knows that he's making that he's just pulling the plug on shit and just creating chaos because chaos is a ladder. You know, I think, or on some
Because then
meta.
you have to destroy something to build something new,
Yeah, okay,
and he
maybe
wants to build
meta level.
something new.
Maybe this his plan is like, okay, we have to actually get to Mars, but in order to get to Mars, we first have to like, turn everybody into fucking worker ants. Yeah,
There
he
was
wants.
this other bit though that I found juicy, that you said that he's hell bent on showing the world that he can contribute out of his authentic expression of being a weird, dorky dude.
I use the word special, like that his specialness is somehow really a gift, and he wants to convince us that yeah. So
So
maybe
where
it's not about him. It's about
so
me
where are you not owning
because I'm judging myself
the specialness of your gift?
because I still waste so much time trying to fit in and be like presentable or whatever. And the thing that has me so sucked into that is that I yeah, I'm still compensating. I'm still doing the trying to fit in thing. I'm still doing that.
How are you doing that?
Just in dressing things up in a way that I think looks good for others, but I don't know if it works for me.
Like what?
Everything, just everything in some ways. So the way that I lay out my Substack post page or something, like if you go on my page, it's like insofar as I made decisions about how to do it, I'm making those decisions based on what I think looks good, but it doesn't necessarily mean it works for me. And I have the same with the way I set up the way I arrange my house, the way I arrange my furniture or my workplace in my house. It's like what looks good, but if it actually works is another question. I don't know. But it's not.
Like,
It's not I don't know. It's that I don't feel like it's interesting. This is not a for me. This is not a really fruitful. I feel like it's not a fruitful direction to go in. But that could be revealing in its own way. Maybe it's an ADHD thing. It's a maybe I'm just out of ideas. Maybe that was my. Maybe that's how much I had. Maybe that's what I had in the tank. Am I now the one live by myself? I guess so. Hi. Hello, world. I'm done moping. I have so much work to do, and I don't have time to play nice, and I don't have time to fake it, and I don't have time to first get it right. What I have time for is just to do it. And it's going to be some music, it's going to be some writing, it's going to be invitations for people to join, and I'm really curious why when I invite people to join, it so rarely happens that they do. But then when they do, I don't feel like I have the follow through to manage the project. So maybe they can already sense that I don't have to follow through because the way that I invite is like the invitation of somebody who is unaware that they don't have the follow through. And therefore, they don't take the invitation. Hello, did I drop out? I thought I was talking. I thought I was alone. So I managed to record some stuff while I was alone. I don't know if, but apparently now I'm in. I'm in, but you're not here. I think this is it. I think we're out. I think we had our. I think we had our thing for today. Okay, that's just it. You have me frozen, but you can hear me.